This program has been made possible by the members of WJCT and by the following corporate sponsors.
Southeast Network Services, provider of JacksNet and dedicated to providing Jacksonville with high-quality, reliable direct Internet services to both businesses and individuals. For information, the number is 350-1969. Computer Repair Service, committed to quality system upgrades and prompt service on personal computers, laser and dot matrix printers and monitors for over 10 years. Computer Repair Service, dedicated to excellence, 388-8109.
This week on Internet, from digital cave drawing to sophisticated full-motion graphics. Who's that lady? We break into the world's greatest art museum. Using the net to snag images. Stephanie looks for lost socks. And our kid cruiser turns the pages of an online magazine.
Don't just get onto the net, get into it. It all happens thanks to funding by U.S. Robotics, makers of modems, telephones, and other information access products. Proud to join you in support of public television. U.S. Robotics, the intelligent choice in information access.
Hi, I'm Leo Laporte, and in the next 30 minutes, we're going to take you onto and into the Internet, the most talked about information medium ever. Our weekly half-hour journey starts, as always, right here with a computer, a modem, and a connection to the Internet. Now, this week, we're going to take a look at the Internet's visual side. Humans are primarily visual creatures, so it's no surprise that the fastest growing part of the Internet is the World Wide Web. That's the graphical interface to the Internet. The explosive growth of the net in the last few years is largely due to the web's visual nature. As modem speeds increase and we can send more and more information over the Internet, that means a richer visual environment. And major improvements like 3D worlds, animation, and video promise even more. So join us, won't you, as we take a look at graphics on the Internet. The pre-World Wide Web days of the Internet were like the early days of motion pictures, when people were dazzled by even the most primitive flickering images. Just a couple of years ago, Internet users were amazed by any images at all. But the web is the best proof that technology really is accelerating. There are plenty of graphics resources on the World Wide Web. Some are just pretty pictures. Others are downloadable files you can use on your own computer. And for more advanced users who are creating their own home pages, there are backgrounds, buttons, and other graphic elements that can be downloaded and reused. Here's a visual source page, a directory of graphics-rich home pages put together by a World Wide Web user. And you can follow these links, trail markers to other websites, merely by clicking on them. They'll lead you to graphics treasure troves. Maybe you've noticed, people on the Internet seem to really like to share. Here's a private homepage, a pretty fine photographer showing off his vacation pictures from Europe, kind of how I spent my summer web style. Okay, whether or not you're excited by looking at old buildings, you've got to admit these are pretty impressive photos. Hey, isn't that building leaning? Or maybe it's the photographer. What's this? I guess you had to be there. Whatever it is, it's not your average point-and-shoot shot. Imagine, with the web, you can let the whole world see pictures of your vacation or your grandchildren. Impressive, yes? But things seldom stay the same for long on the Internet, especially on the World Wide Web. So it's only natural that graphics on the Internet should go to the next logical step, motion. You've probably heard about Apple's QuickTime Movies, and more recently, Java. Here are some sites using these techniques to bring the web alive. This site is using a Netscape plugin called Shockwave to create animated icons and controls. Here, Java is being used to add interactive elements. Thanks to QuickTime, you can even catch movie trailers online. Well, as you can see, technology is driving the Internet's level of graphic sophistication. But when you think visual on the net, don't limit your vision to modern high-tech 3D renderings and the latest motion video, because the visual side of the Internet, the World Wide Web, pays tribute to the classics, too. Oh, Mona. Yes, it's her. Well, if you're going to go museum prowling on the web, where else to start? But Le Louvre, the famous Paris art museum, has the first of the world's foremost cultural collections to take the World Wide Web seriously. As such, it made many people sit up and take notice. A serious art museum, one, if not the greatest art museum in the world, was putting images of its collections on a very elaborate website. Other museums have joined since then, but because of the depth of the French Museum's collection, it's still the reigning web art museum. When you visit the Louvre's website, you may face a little bit of a language barrier, unless you speak French or Portuguese, although the Louvre pages do promise English and Spanish versions coming soon. And again, a picture is worth 1,000 words, especially if the words are in a language you don't speak. Collections on the Louvre website are organized by nationality and medium. You could choose paintings, sculptures, objects of art, Egyptian, Roman, Etruscan, and Oriental antiquities. Within each category, you can select the nationality of the artists: French, Italian, Dutch, German, English, Spanish, and so on. Here's a page from the Italian school. Now remember, when the mouse pointer turns into a hand with an extended finger, that usually means you're over a link to another site. In the case of a graphical element, it'll usually take you to a full-screen version of the image. Just click the left mouse button and wait for that image to load. It's a good time to note that if you want to make the most of the web, the graphical face of the internet, you'll probably want to get an upgraded monitor, preferably 15 inches or larger, and use an advanced web browser like Netscape 2.0. The latest version of Netscape makes it much easier to automatically launch helper applications like the one we're using here to look at the full-screen version of Panini's work. Here's an image from the great sculptor Antonio Canova. Still images look great, especially if you've got a good monitor. But in the future, and on the internet, that's usually not very far off, we'll probably be able to see video images of these great works or ones like them. The Louvre even provides links to other museums. I guess when you're the Louvre, you've got nothing to fear from the competition. Here's a link to the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel. As with the Louvre collection, many of these works of art are immediately recognizable, even for those of us who've never seen them in person. Here's a Transfiguration from the Vatican Museum's online collection, and another very famous work, the Pietà from St. Peter's Basilica. As modem speeds increase and monitor images become sharper, works like these will become even more easily appreciated through advanced online sites. While the images may not yet be nearly as good as you'd find in an expensive art book, there are advantages to the web approach. As you can see on this page, the webmaster offers a variety of close-ups of different parts of this famous sculpture. Here's Michelangelo's masterpiece, the Sistine Ceiling. Even more than the other images, this one really deserves to be viewed in detail. But if you don't have a very large screen, that's pretty much out of the question. It's another example of how things will change in years to come. We'll probably be using increased bandwidth and high-resolution combination TV computer monitors that'll give us really vivid, detailed graphics. In fact, some experts think graphic websites will really take off when cable or telephone companies begin offering ultra-high-speed internet access lines, and we can view those fast-loading, high-res images on TV-sized screens. For something a little more recent, here's Salvador Dali's homepage. And for really contemporary art, there's the International Kids Space, where kids as young as 2 can post their work. Here's a drawing by Alexandra Nursell, age 8, of Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. It's called The Kitten in Its Crib, and It's Dreaming About Ice Cream. I think you could see that technology and art come together to make a perfect match on the World Wide Web. From the Renaissance to the Dark Ages, Stephanie shows us a high-technology gloss on an ancient art.
The web may often seem like a very prosaic place, concerned only with concrete ideas and worldly matters. But in cyberspace, there's a place for everything, including the supernatural. So if you have questions beyond the realm of everyday experience, maybe you should look for answers on the web. The Celtic Tarot card reading page gives you a full-fledged tarot reading through your computer. 3 and 10 card readings are available. You concentrate on your question or problem, and the server lays out the cards. The cards themselves are beautifully reproduced. And while explanations of the card and positions are provided, the interpretation of the reading is up to you. On an entirely different occult note is the crystal haggis, which provides slightly skewed astrological forecasts. Actually, these are more than slightly skewed. They're completely made up and provide advice which you are advised to ignore. The only good forecast we found was for Capricorn. Of course, this forecast is always good since the author himself is a Capricorn. But the rest of the horoscopes change regularly and are awfully funny. We also found a web page that addresses one of the eternal mysteries and, in addition, tries to answer it. The Bureau of Missing Socks is committed to finding out where the other sock goes and to reuniting pairs of socks whenever possible. There are discussions of missing sock theories, including those concerning the occult, conspiracies, and the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement, and a database of single socks where you can register your own mateless sock. I, in fact, do have a single sock, and I feel it's my civic duty to report it to the Bureau. First, a short description of the sock, then the type, size, length, base color, secondary color, the pattern, cost, condition, and place of purchase. Exhaustive, but effective. Then, by entering your email address, you can be contacted if a match is found. There is also a fascinating collection of historical socks, including an authentic Elvis sock, and the largest sock in the world. If you find yourself captivated by this subject, you may be interested in a career in sock enforcement. Take the special agent test to see if you have the sock stuff. The world of the supernatural may be essentially unknowable, but the web is a useful tool in managing it. These pages show how cyberspace may truly be the link between the tangible world and the realm of the unknown.
There are hundreds, maybe thousands of sites where graphic images are offered on the World Wide Web. In most cases, they're yours for the asking or downloading. Let's check this one out, the Freebie Icon Directory. It's very simple. We find the image we want, click on it, it opens it up. We go to File, click Save As, and OK to save it. Now it's going to automatically name the file and save it to the directory in the box. Just remember the name of the file. Write it down along with the name of the directory. We'll need it later when we open this file. Now that we've got an image in file form, we need to find a program to put it to use. Although this is an icon, it's in a standard graphics format. Let's find a program that will open it up. Most internet users get a suite of shareware or freeware programs with their service. There are dozens of them. Some of them are very powerful and easy to use. Some require a relatively small registration fee. Others are free. This is one of those. It's called Elview. It's a good idea to check out the legalities before using a program. Let's check out the Help button on the toolbar. Looks like a good deal. It says it's free. We'll click on Continue. As with nearly all Windows programs, go to the File button on the toolbar to open a file. Pick Open from the drop-down menu. Let's find that file. But first we have to tell the program what kind of files we're looking for. In this case, it's a GIF file, and we're looking in the directory the browser program chose. By clicking on the file, we tell the Elview program to open it up. There it is. But that's too small. Let's increase the size of the image by clicking on the box. Graphics programs vary in what they can do from this point forward. They also differ in how they do it. Some can merely resize a graphic. Some can change resolution. Let's make this one larger so we can work on it. Most offer basic manipulation features such as negative or reverse image, and many offer conversion to other formats. Don't forget to save that file after you've changed it. Click on File, choose Save As, and click on OK.
See, that's not so hard. Once you do it a time or two, it'll become second nature. Now, one word of caution. Some, in fact many, of the images on the internet carry copyright restrictions. It's unlawful to use copyrighted material for commercial purposes without permission. So look for warnings on internet documents, web pages, or in the README files attached to some of the images you may download.
It looks like it could rain today. When most of us see a storm brewing overhead, we prepare ourselves with a raincoat and an umbrella. But there's one man in Tucson, Arizona, who doesn't leave his house without his camera when he sees clouds overhead. Meet Warren Fadley, alias the Storm Chaser. Fadley travels around the world capturing the power of nature on film. Whether it's a lightning storm in the Arizona desert or a funnel cloud on the fields of Oklahoma, Fadley risks his life taking pictures, although he's a bit more modest about his career.
I think storm chasing as a journalist is really no different than other types of journalism. Some people specialize in sports, some specialize in news, weather, and that's what I do. I specialize in weather photography as a journalist. I can go out on any given day and I may see the greatest severe weather event in the world and capture it on film, or I may see nothing.
If all of this captures your interest, you're not alone. Fadley says so many people wanted information on his adrenaline-driven job, he was driven to create a homepage on the World Wide Web.
I think the main reason I decided to put this on the web was there was just so many people requesting it.
On the site, you can look at photos Fadley has taken of hurricanes, tornadoes, and lightning strikes without ever having to step out into the elements.
I would say most people are fascinated. They like to look at the photographs, they like to read the stories and see what I have here because it allows them to experience it without having to go out and experience the weather for themselves, which is very dangerous.
You can also ask the Storm Chaser for advice on severe weather safety.
I had one gentleman, matter of fact, who sent me an email with urgent written all over it, saying he was in the middle of a tornado watch and he was frightened to death, and I was the only person he could turn to.
There's a business side to Fadley's internet endeavor. He says his company, Weatherstock, has seen as much as a 10% increase in revenue since he set up the web page.
The net's kind of like this giant pen pal thing where people that have all these little interests can find someone else, and it's amazing. I mean, I've had scientists, I've had famous sports figures.
Journalists all over the world have written articles about Fadley's adventures, and internet users all over the globe seem to be just as interested in following this storm chaser. His site is a big hit with kids. About half of those accessing it are children.
Most kids are looking for information. They want to know what a tornado is. They want to know, it's that basic curiosity that children have. They want to know what makes lightning. They want to know why the sky is blue. And I think the internet is just a wonderful place to learn that.
When he gets back from this storm chasing season, Fadley hopes to set up a new website designed exclusively for young weather watchers.
Judging by the email I get, about 50% of the response I get from my page is from kids. So I thought, well, I should have a page just for them. It's not too technical, that'll answer questions, that'll have photographs and tell them about severe weather safety, which they have a lot of concerns about.
When asked where his business on the internet is going, Fadley says, the sky's the limit. For Internet, I'm Celeste Gonzalez.
Remember these? Or should I say, remember when these were exotic technology? A music compact disc. In 1984, they cost about $20, if you could find one. The player cost about $1,000. By the late 1980s, CDs were outselling records. In fact, vinyl was fast disappearing from stores. Now you can hardly find vinyl albums anywhere, except maybe at yard sales. And some CDs sell for as little as $3 or $4. They only cost about $1 to make. And you could buy a CD player for around $100. And if you think that media revolution moved quickly, take a look at what's happening to video imagery on the internet. Digital still cameras like these, virtually a new consumer product a year or so ago, are now as inexpensive as $300. And features improve and prices drop almost monthly. These cameras make it easy and relatively cheap to capture still images and then load them into your computer. There's no film in here. And these cameras come with software that you can use to view and manipulate the photos you take right on your computer. Putting them in a file form also allows you to use those photos as screensavers, backgrounds, inserts in desktop publishing documents, or on personal and small business web pages. Now, as we said last week, you can even send graphics files along as snapshots with your email. But what does that all mean to the internet user? Well, cheaper, easier, and more sophisticated images on the internet. But it doesn't stop there. Some internet experts think that by the end of the year, sites without some form of motion video and audio will be considered passé, old hat. And in fact, with improved bandwidth, that's the ability of internet connections to move data, more data per second, the lines will soon blur between the internet and what we now call television. By rapidly increasing the flow of data through consumer internet connections, either through cable TV modems or digital telephone lines, you'll be able to view and provide video in real time. Today, even with a 28A modem, a few seconds of video can take a long time, hours sometimes, to download. But with this extra power, the video and audio will come in faster and in higher fidelity than it now does. So with this new visually enhanced internet, will it simply turn your computer into an expensive TV? Well, probably not. Remember, the internet is interactive, not passive. You participate. And these increases in audio and video sophistication will allow programmers to write more sophisticated applications for the internet. Video conferencing and real-time multiplayer gaming are just two of the visual applications most likely to quickly make use of greater bandwidth. The fight is on to see who provides the bandwidth. Phone companies have the experience and the infrastructure to bring more data capacity into your home. On the other hand, cable TV companies around the country are experimenting with providing internet access through their existing fiber optic and copper cable networks. It could come from satellites, like those used to provide TV signals. Of course, with satellites, the uplink, that is, the outgoing signal carrying your commands, would probably be through telephone or cable lines, at least for the near future. Probably the greatest barometer for rapidly improving graphic content on the internet is the recent partnership of major online service providers and internet companies. Take, for example, CompuServe, the largest network of dial-up ports in the world, recently teaming up with Netscape, the maker of the most popular web browsing software. The commercial online services have been piling on the web, realizing that their users would no longer be satisfied without doors to the outside world and the World Wide Web. The user-friendly nature of visual interfaces fits right in with what the online services have been trying to do, so it's likely that their partnerships will bring even more visual approaches to the information superhighway. But what form will those developments be in? No one knows. There's one thing you can be sure of. It'll cost less, and you'll get more. That's just a truism in computing. And no matter what happens, you can be sure we'll bring it to you right here on Internet. By the way, you can go to Netscape's plug-in registry for information on some of the helper applications to run enhanced video offered at some websites. And you'll need Netscape 2.0 or another advanced browser to best take advantage of most of these visual enhancements that are already available. Coming up, our Kid Cruiser and another segment just for kids.
Splash Kids Online Magazine is a monthly magazine just for kids. Like regular magazines, there's a ton of stuff to read and do. And even better, clicking anywhere on the page will take you somewhere really cool. What in the world is the news and features section? Kid Connection tells you what's going on with kids around the world. This month, you can send letters to Israeli children whose country is torn by violence. You can also tell Kid Connection what's going on in your part of the world. Virtual School covers all the subjects in regular school, but in a cool cyber way. Recess has links to online comics. The student newspaper features online papers from schools all over. There are also links to history, geography, sports, art, and health. What's hot, what's not, asks kids to rate their favorites and not so favorites. This month's list comes from 4th graders in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Art Alley gives you a chance to submit your own artwork. This Splat gallery has pictures by kids in Moscow, Russia. Ryman Rodney shows poems by kids, and you can submit your own here too. Tech Talk is a great way to learn about computer culture. Ask Dr. Beta answers technical questions from kids, and the Kids Raves reviews software and games. So check it out before you make up your birthday wish list. And the Emoji Contest asks you to send in your own emoticons, the little sideways smiley faces you can use at the end of sentences. This Jim Carrey one looks just like him. Planet Holiday shows that every day is a holiday somewhere. March 27th is National Badminton Day, and March 30th is Seward Day, when the U.S. bought Alaska from Russia for only $7 million. Grab Bag is just plain fun. It starts with a joke, sometimes it's a real groaner, and a link to a page of jokes. There's a sports quiz and puzzles you can print out, like this maze. And then there's 2 whole pages of hot links with quizzes like this bat quiz and games like Name That Flag and The Cube. Online magazines have everything regular magazines have, and a whole lot more. Splash Kids is a great starting point for your surfing, since the links on every page can take you just about anywhere. I'm going to bookmark this site and check back later.
Well, unfortunately, it's time to wrap up this week's look at the visual side of the Internet. I think you'll agree the Internet is getting more visual all the time. And I think this look at the multimedia potential of the Internet will help you understand why Internet experts have an unlimited need for speed. It's not just a matter of getting things faster, but also of getting data to produce a more sophisticated presentation. You'll find pointers to all the sites we visited this week and more on our own website, so point your browser our way. Oh, and while you're there, drop us a line. We'd like to hear your suggestions. And starting next week on Internet, we'll be reading some of those messages and answering some of your questions on the air. I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next week on Internet.
Don't just get onto the net, get into it. It all happens thanks to funding by U.S. Robotics, makers of modems, telephones, and other information access products. Proud to join you in support of public television. U.S. Robotics, the intelligent choice in information access.